Hello and welcome to another episode of the I Am Jen Wilson, the Healing Rebel podcast. And I am delighted today to have Vicky from Mini First Aid Training, if that's the correct name of the business, on today. I briefly met Vicky at a networking event and was like, oh, I need to update my first aid, first of all. And it would be really good to have a conversation because some of the stuff that you were talking about, and it's like, right, how do we get this message out to a broader audience? So if you're listening to the podcast for the very first time, welcome. If you're a return listener, thank you for coming back. If you hear anything today that you think, oh, somebody needs to hear this, and really this conversation everybody needs to hear, so please share this conversation far and wide. Really, really important. So thank you very much, Vicky, for giving me some of your time today.
Oh, no, thanks for having me. I agree with you that it's just a conversation I think everyone needs to have and just have at the back of their mind about what do they know and would they know what to do in an emergency. Unfortunately, it can happen to anyone at any time. So that's our job, is just to make sure that everyone is as well equipped as possible, that if the unfortunate does happen, they could jump into action.
Yeah. So let's start at, how did you get into being a first aid trainer?
Oh, so I'd never learned first aid in school. I think my first aid course, I was about 21, 22. And as part of my graduate scheme, just to tick that final box, I had to do a first aid at work course. So the full 3 days at the British Red Cross in Hillingdon. And until then, I was just easy-ozy, kind of doing business, wasn't really sure what I wanted to do. And that was the first time ever I was like, oh, wow. And I was going home and I was studying and I was thinking of all these scenarios in my head. And I felt like I never left that building. So from the moment I left, I was in a volunteer with them. And I spent every hour as well doing a full-time job. I spent loads of evenings and weekends doing first aid at public events, just in a voluntary role, and did that for quite a long time. And I always kind of kept that alongside my corporate role in learning and development. I've worked in kind of large organisations, but the last one was John Lewis.
Yeah.
And then I stopped volunteering just when I had my family. And by the time I was ready to go back into it, the Red Cross had stopped doing their first aid events kind of sides to focus on being a humanitarian organisation. So working full time, bringing up the two little kid events. And then an opportunity for redundancy came up with John Lewis a couple of years ago, which was the right decision for me. So I took voluntary redundancy with a 6-month notice period going, what am I going to do? What am I going to do? And then an advert just popped up, Mini First Aid looking for, and it's a franchise. So they were looking for franchise owners. And I'm like to my husband, what do you think about me becoming self-employed? Like, that just made sense. I now got to train people, but train people in something that I really was passionate about. So had that chat with Matt. So it's Matt and Kay that run Mini First Aids. He came up to Edinburgh from Leeds and we had a wee chat. And then all of a sudden I was just running Mini First Aid Glasgow. And it's now 3.5 years down the line. But it feels like it just all came into place.
Yeah.
I can't tell you a moment where I said, I want to be a first aid trainer. I was already helping the training team when I was volunteering, but it wasn't something that I ever thought I could be employed doing and do something and make money from it. So yeah, it's a bit of a passion of mine, and I'm just glad I can just merge them both together now.
Yeah, the universe shook in the right way. Some people would see it as being, oh my God, this is the end of the world, but actually it's clearing a space for you to step into something new. And something you'd already found was just ready to blossom. It was the seed had been planted.
Absolutely, yeah. I know. I genuinely do believe that what's right for you won't go by you.
Yeah, especially if you're open to it, like, and you were, because you had done that training. Because I was probably about 20 or 21 when I did my first aid training as well. Me and my mum went to night school, and we did it over 5 weeks, and it was like we had to sit like an exam and go in and do the first aid demos. We were dead nervous, oh my God. And the guy who was running the course, it was former military, so he was like really into it and he was super passionate about it as well. But at the end of it, we were kind of like, that was a tick box exercise for us, pushing ourselves out of our comfort zone. But then I went to work overseas. I worked out in holiday resorts because I worked in the travel industry as my background at the time. And when we were in resort, there was one of the bar crawls was on, and I wasn't one of the reps, but I worked in the office. I was part of the admin team, but I was in the bar, and one of the people on the bar crawl took ill with an angina attack. And I was like, it's all right, I've done my first aid, I know what to do. It's like, oh my goodness, okay, no, I'm not a doctor. But there was a confidence there that I knew what to do and I didn't panic. Whereas I don't know if the reps had any first aid training, or if they'd had proper first aid training, or like, because I was the only person that seemed to be dealing with it. They were all away off doing other stuff. And I was like, goodness. But super cool. In any other first aid training courses that I've been on since then have either been really boring, or we've sat about chatting about what felt like nothing in particular, and then it was like, all right, here's how to do some bandages, here's how to do the compressions, okay, that's you passed, on you go. And it was like a completely different world from that night school course we did where we were getting examined, to just sitting having a chat and being given a bit of paper and sent away. And I'm like, from that, if that's all I had, there's no way I would have ever had the confidence to be able to say, I can maybe help you here.
Yeah, do you know, Jen, and I think a lot of people see first aid, particularly because it's a legal requirement in the workplace, they do see it as a tick box. But I think they take it to an even bigger extreme. You and your mum obviously wanted to do it. Like, some people just go to make sure that they've got that kind of tick in the box. And I think if you go along to training, I think part of it is the mindset of the person when they come along, but then part of it is the trainer's responsibility as well. So I would say from the trainer's responsibility side of things, it's about being able to make sure that we're engaging our learners. And it's trust me, it's easy to see who turns up to make sure they get their certificate at the end of it. And actually, I do at the start of every class, I'll ask people, like, what level of experience do you have? And what doesn't matter is someone who's came every 3 years for the last 30 years to someone who's come in the first time. Because if you've never faced an emergency like what you had there, you actually genuinely don't know how you're going to react. You could know exactly what to do and you've got your certificate, but you might not be the right person to be able to jump into action, because on the day of the course, did you really truly engage with that learning? And instead of saying, right, this is what I do, it's like, why do you do it? Like, I really want people to say, like, why are we doing that? So it makes sense. Because say someone has a heart attack in front of you, what makes sense to be able to help them just now? And if you never ask those questions on the course, you will 100% guarantee you'll forget what to do, because your brain's going at 100 miles an hour. You'll need to dig really deep to, oh, what did they say? What did they say? What did they say? And it could become that for 3 years ago, and that's you kept in date. So I think it's really important that people understand why they're doing what they're doing, and they're not just coming along for that little tick box exercise. And there's responsibility. I do get it. There's a responsibility in both of us, and I think first aid training can be seen as being quite stuffy and a very scary topic. So we get people who are coming in, they've got a little bit of a barrier already. So it's really important they do have a really warm, friendly, engaging trainer in the room to make sure they can bring that out of them and still walk away thinking, whew, I would know what to do. I hope it doesn't happen. I would know what to do.
Yeah, you don't just train adults, right?
Yeah, no, we train from age 3.
Amazing.
It's just so important. And actually, if something is going to happen, it's probably going to happen to the adults. I'm just thinking of all likelihoods. Worst case scenario, it's probably going to happen to the adult. And quite often, what if it's a parent? One parent is at home with a child by themselves, or children. So from age 3, we don't scare them. We bring out Care Bear or Freddy Teddy, and we make sure they know how to look at a phone, which is difficult these days. Look at a phone, be able to call 999, know what kind of questions they're going to ask them. So they need to learn like their address, what their name and their age is. But we talk about bumps to the head, cuts and grazes, rolling someone onto their sides. And we do that through like songs and play and storytelling. But
Yeah.
then by the time a child's age 3, they're so inquisitive. I said 3, 7. By the time they're 7, they're so inquisitive by that age. We actually bring the mannequins out and we think, do you know what, let's just do it, because the likelihood is you can do this if you need to.
Yeah.
So again, we start training CPR on the mannequins at age 3 and all the techniques. And we just keep adding to that. So by the time you're 12, you're heading into teens, we think, let's get a defibrillator in, let's use auto pens or the auto injectors. You're probably going to be by yourself with a friend at this point. We're just thinking about when are you probably going to have this. You're probably too cool to have an adult around. So if your pal's having an asthma attack and they've got an inhaler, what does that look like and how do you help them use it? Very similar to the auto injectors. And then again, for adults, there's a workplace requirement, but they're actually really low numbers that a workplace are expected to have. So if you don't need a qualification and you don't need to spend a minimum of 6 hours in the room, that's fine. We've got 2-hour classes, whether your focus is on baby and child or adult. And the reason why we have this is, from a child, we think it's really important. You've got a building block way of learning. So you have that true confidence because you've been learning when you're younger. The likelihood is, you said this earlier, you're probably going to need it at some point in your life. To actually, by learning it's just part of your life from age 3, that someone might get sick or hurt and that can help them, is absolutely amazing. And then again, when you're an adult, it's about, don't wait for an opportunity for a workplace thing comes up. Just get yourself sorted, do a wee awareness course. If you can, do it practically so you're getting your hands on the mannequins. It's really important we keep it real. And online learning is amazing, but unless you get your hands on the mannequins, you'll never have an idea of how it actually feels.
Yeah. And I think for the kids, it's really important to take away some of the fear. Like you're instilling confidence that they're going to know what to do. Because say your mum passed out in front of you as a small child, if you didn't have a clue that that could even happen, it's going to traumatise you. And you're going to go into a state of panic, have a meltdown, and then by the time somebody comes to help, they've then got 2 people that they need to help because you've got a traumatised child totally in shock and an adult potentially lying unconscious.
Yeah, absolutely.
So yeah, there's skills that are super important.
Yeah, and you know, it's funny what you're saying there, because I think there's an element of we want to make sure you know what to do. There's certain aims of first aid, and if we go with worst case scenario was to preserve life, so to do CPR, to keep everything circulating while we're waiting for an ambulance to come. But actually, the chance of survival is relatively low if you're doing even good CPR. And I think a really important part to be thinking about is, did you feel like you did everything you possibly could? Because you're going to spend the rest of your life reflecting on that. And that's just natural. It's human instinct, isn't it, to think, what happened? What did I do? What could I do differently? And we just want everyone to think, I did the best I could and I did something. And that, again, in first aid, we all say, do something. It's better than doing nothing. Just go for it. When you're coming to worst case scenario, there's nothing you can do that's worse than the position you're in already. But yeah, I think that panic and taking it out. So like you said, with the really young ones, we try to wake up Care Bear and make sure they know what they're doing. But yeah, it's a scary topic, isn't it, particularly for kids?
Yeah, but then if you're helping take away that fear in a really safe, supportive way, then it's not they don't have anything to be scared about, but it just takes away a wee layer of that fear if they did ever come across something, and so that they know as well, go and pick up the phone and dial 999 and don't do the prank.
Exactly.
Or chat.
Yeah, and you know, see if I got learning like this when I was younger, and it's just picking up the phone. But actually, it's now thinking about what kind of phone do you have at home and how would you get access to that? So actually, we can teach, and this is what I love about the really young ones, as well as teaching the kids. We need to talk to the adults as well, because we're like, right, okay, Jen, so your little one's going to come home talking about call 999, you need to make sure they know what the phone looks like at home and how to get access to it without having to give them the PIN number for your phone.
Yeah.
How to open your door, how to learn your address. So actually the parent or the carer, even if they've never learned first aid before, they're then starting to think. So I really like the younger we teach, that we actually engage the parents and the carers as well, just to make sure they're both learning at the same time.
Yeah, I'm just thinking about my first house phone. It was a rotary phone that was up on the wall, and
Yeah.
at 5 or 6, I had to climb up on the bin to reach it because it was quite high up. So, and we only had one phone in the house in those days,
Yeah.
back in the early 80s. Yeah, it was, yeah. So even if I had been taught what to do, I wouldn't have necessarily been able to access the phone because I wouldn't be able to reach it.
Exactly. Yeah. And I remember my best friend's phone number from the 80s.
I mean,
Like you wouldn't remember, I remember my husband's phone number. He's not changed it in 25 years. But you generally don't remember that many mobile numbers because there's so many digits. But yeah, I could still, in fact, it might even just be our mum that still lives there.
that's handy that there's somebody still lives at the end of the number.
But you're right, it's just everything's just so different now, isn't it?
Yeah, but being able to, like, that we know that you can dial 999 from a phone that you don't have the PIN to, but being able to teach a child, that's really important.
Yeah. And you know, as much as we're talking about children, we still see whenever any level of course I run, I still talk about calling 999. And that's
Mm,
because as much as you're learning first aid and you're hopefully good to go in an emergency, it's still their job to talk you through what to do.
mm-hmm.
So I feel really comfortable with first aids. I used to volunteer with the British Red Cross, like I said, Tea in the Park. You know, that was an eye opener. Hamden at Take That. That was an interesting event. But with my two kids, I've got a 10 and a 7-year-old. See if you put them in front of me and they've bumped their head, I'm crying for them. Like I'm like crying, I'm trying to cuddle them. And somebody else is saying, "Oh, if you put an ice pack on," I'm like, "Oh no, I've not done that yet." So you don't
Yeah,
know how you're going to react and to who and to why that's going to happen. So I think it's still really important that adults remember that one of the first things you're going to do is call 999. And
uh-huh.
if you know what to do in that really short period of time before you're calling them, then that's amazing. But if you don't, you call them as quickly as you can and they're going to tell you what to do.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, just when you were saying that about when your kid bumped the head, when my friend and her daughter were in my house one day, and her daughter's was quite wild when she was young. She'd always be jumping in something and jumping onto it, and up in my floors are all concrete underneath
Oh,
the laminate floor. She was upstairs on my bed and she went to onto my back, and I didn't see that she was going to do it, and I stepped forward, so she missed me. She missed the chest of drawers by hairs and bounced off the ground. But the way she bounced off the ground, it kind of made her convulse a wee bit. And our mum just was like, oh my God. And she went into panic. And I'm like, it's fine. Grabbed her, put her on the bed, checked that she was breathing okay. And I'm like, phone the ambulance just to come and get her checked out. But by the time the ambulance arrived, she was back to jumping on the bed again. So she
oh yeah.
was absolutely fine. But my friend was like, I can't believe I just went into panic mode. And I'm like, but you're her mum. That's
You're allowed
okay.
to. Yeah.
It was you also unconsciously knew that there was somebody else here to deal with that. Had you been
Yeah.
in the by yourself, you might have
Snap
responded.
yourself out of it, don't you? Yeah.
Like you're so much is going on in your brain unconsciously that you don't realise. And it's okay for one person to have a meltdown and one person to step in because that's maybe unconsciously the whole relationship that you have with those people.
Yeah. 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 And you know, I think a lot of people they think a lot of people, so if something happens, I think a lot of people would think, "Oh, hopefully someone else will be there that would know what to do."
Mm-hmm.
And I think it's just about thinking, but what if there's not? What if there's not someone? And see if
Mm-hmm.
someone has a cardiac arrest, so even without feeling unwell, someone very suddenly loses consciousness and stops breathing. If they're not in hospital, 80% of those people are at home.
Yeah.
And for the workplace, that's amazing. You'll have a certain amount of people at work that would know what to do. But only 15% of people that have these cardiac arrests are actually at work. Most of
Yeah.
them are at home.
Mm-hmm.
And it's about, would you know what to do? do you know where your local defibrillators are? Because someone's chance of survival is less than 10%. But if you can put a defibrillator on them, as long as you're doing CPR, within 3 to 5 minutes, their chance of survival goes up to 15, 70%.
That's wild.
I know it's crazy, but you know, in Scotland, we've got really high rates of bystander CPR. I think even with like casualty knowledge and like Grey's Anatomy and stuff, people will give it a go. Everyone kind of just knows you need to start pushing down in the chest and then they'll call an ambulance. But in less than 10% of cases in the community will anyone even go and get a defibrillator, because it's just not in people's minds and they don't know what that jump is.
Yeah.
So it's things like that we want people to know about. That's called the chain of survival. And it's just thinking about if that was going to happen to someone, like what can you do to give them the best chance of survival?
Yeah.
And it's about jumping into action as quickly as you can once you've snapped yourself together, taking a big breath and went, right.
So how do you find out where your local defibrillators are? Because I'm just thinking I have never seen one around my area, but that might just be I've never cognitively acknowledged it. I've probably got one 100 times. So how would you find out where they are?
It's like when you're going by a car, isn't it? Nope, just got my car. And then all of a sudden, everyone's driving past you. So there's a couple of different things. The first thing I would recommend everyone does is go onto a website called defibfinder.uk.
Okay.
So the British Heart Foundation have put together something called the circuits, and anyone who owns a defibrillator is invited to or welcome to register that defibrillator on this public site. So it'll tell you where it is. It'll tell you sometimes there's hours where it is available. So, for example, our local tennis club have got one. It'll say it's available between 7 a.m. and 11 p.m. And what I would recommend is go and put your postcode in, bring up a map with little points, and I would genuinely say just take a wee walk out. Take a wee walk around so you know where it is. See if it's like, so the one at the bottom of my road in an old phone box.
Yeah.
And quite often they're being repurposed for this now, or they're in the side of like a church hall or school gates. And quite often, have you seen one that's got a little pin code thing in it? So it's a little key box.
Right.
You actually need to put a PIN number in to open the door to get access to the defibrillator. It's 999 that gives you that code. So I would recommend, first of all, going in, putting your postcode on, then just taking a wee walk around so you know where they are.
Yeah.
And then in an emergency, just always call 999 because they'll tell you where it is. And if that defibrillator was ever not in use, and I say most of the time it's because it's been used recently, and needs to get replacement pads put in, and then put back into circulation, they'll tell you if you need to go to the next one that's available.
Yeah.
But yeah, you'll start seeing them now. More and more.
I'm just on this website just now having a
look. I know if you don't do it now, it'll be something that like just doesn't get done, doesn't it?
I will put the links into the notes. I'm just having a look. Where is my street? There isn't one very close to me.
Is there not?
No.
And again, if you're in a community, then I would maybe say if you've got like a community council, it might be engaging with that council, and having a chat with them. They're not the most expensive. I mean, they're not. I'm not going to say they're cheap. They're not the most expensive. For you to buy them. And when you buy a defibrillator, the battery life is generally for about 5 years. It's the pads that need their single-use only pads. And what I would say is a lot of people are scared of defibrillators.
Yeah.
Because the purpose of it is if someone's had a cardiac arrest, their heart sits like jelly, like this. Even though they're not breathing, you would think their heart stopped, but it's not, it's doing this. So we can get an electric shock through that really quickly within 3 to 5 minutes. It gives it an opportunity to stop and then hopefully kickstart a healthy heart rhythm again. And don't get me wrong, see when you open it up, it will tell you exactly what to do and it's got pictures. There are a couple of safety things you do need to have a think about. So electricity and water, electricity and metal, electricity and body hair. There's a couple of things to have a think about, but it will talk you through everything and it will have like a razor. I'll have a little paper towels and stuff for it all for you to use as best as you can. But you can't go any further wrong, or you can't do worse than the position you're in just now when someone's not breathing now. So you might as well, if you can, go and get one.
Yeah. I will speak to my local residents committee to see if we can get one, because
Good
the closest
plan.
one is in Arnold Clark's, which is across the road, but for anybody to get there, you have to go all the way down, so it would take you about 3 to 5 minutes to get there.
Yeah.
And they're only open till 8 o'clock at night.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, sorry. Yeah. Church buildings, community centres and schools are generally where you see the most.
Yeah.
Because they're well used by the community. Some people, whenever I do a workplace course, like I was in a hairdresser's in Newton Mearns on Monday, and we popped the postcode in, and there were 2 houses nearby. So people can buy a defibrillator for personal reasons and still say, chat my door if you want, I'll give you it if I don't need it. So you might have people that have bought one for personal reasons, but if you need it, you chat their door and they'll give it to you, which is just incredible, isn't it?
Yeah, such a good thing to have. Yeah. So the other thing that you spoke about when at that networking was how different skin colour, people with different skin colours present differently with different ailments. So do you want to talk a wee bit about that?
Yeah, so we're really passionate about diversity in first aid, and everyone has the same chance of survival if something happens. So we're talking about preserve life, promote recovery, and to make sure things don't get worse. And if we say, for example, a burn, and we talked about this, didn't we, in the course, a burn, like a sunburn on white skin would appear to be red normally.
Yeah.
And red's quite an alarming colour. And you take action it really quickly. Like if you see red, you're like, you're in the car. On darker skin tones, so like in brown, black, mixed race, it doesn't appear as what you would normally see on white skin. And it can be misinterpreted for something else. So, for example, on black skin, a superficial, so on the surface layer of the skin, it can appear darker, or you might see like a silvery kind of white sheen from it. And actually, in the meeting where we first met Jen, one of the ladies says that she knew someone, they went to hospital and they thought it was a bruise. And it was only when that burn then obviously got deeper and became a partial thickness burn, started seeing the blistering. And that's where it was more obvious it was a burn. So it's just really important in our teaching and in your learning, we are recognising what that looks like on all skin types. So the biggest ones we probably talk about are burns, cyanosis. So on white, fairer skin, cyanosis is a lack of oxygen. So if someone's choking, you see blue around the face, which is more localized again in darker skin tones. So you won't see it as obvious. If someone has meningitis, quite often you're looking for a rash.
Yeah.
Again, it's usually quite red and angry, but it looks more like blotching and bruising again in darker skin tones. So it's just really important. There's little sayings. So whenever quite often we'll teach, the biggest class we teach is for mums and dads, grannies and grandpas. And when we're talking about choking, which is what most people come for, because they come at 6 months waiting to wean. And they'll say, oh, I've heard of a little saying before. I'm like, here we go. And they say, if you're loud and red, let them go ahead. If you're silent and blue, they need help from you. And I was like, I love that it rhymes, which is beautiful. And I've been totally honest. When I first started training 3.5 years ago, I used to say the exact same rhyme, but it's not diverse. So kind of like I've just explained, if you're loud and red, let them go ahead. If someone with black skin typically doesn't go red.
Yeah.
And if you're silent and blue, you need help from you. That blueness is a cyanosis, which again is more obvious in fairer white skin.
Yeah.
So we are really careful. We're all human and we're in a learning process, but we're really careful of what we say, just to make sure everyone's got the best chance of meeting all these aims of first aid that we're trying to do. But it's a huge task.
It's really important to share, because at that that meeting, that was the first time I'd ever heard that, and it never crossed my mind. But it's super important now because most of my community are not white. Like we have a very diverse community here now, and you're like, oh, that hadn't even crossed my mind. That
Yeah.
because if nobody's told you before and you've never had that discussion with anybody. But the scary thing was when I can't remember who it was that told that story about the person going to hospital. But
Yeah.
scary, the hospital didn't know. Like I have high expectations of the medical community that are frequently not met. But that feels like a really basic one to
Yeah,
me.
do you know what's funny? So my husband's a part of the family are over in South Africa,
Mm-hmm.
and one of them came back over. So we meet up with them once a year now down in Devon, and she has always worked in like a university. So, and I was telling her how to do first aid. She's like, "Oh, I've always done first aid." I'm like, "Super. What does a superficial burn look like on black skin?" And she's like, "Oh, go red." And I'm thinking, "Well, you're from South Africa, where you've got predominantly black,
Yeah.
like kind of population." So I think there is a huge worldwide educational piece on
Yeah.
that. And if we're sticking with diversity as well, we also talked about females. So
Yes.
if someone stopped breathing in the streets, and what we need to do before an ambulance comes is keep them alive by doing CPR, there is a real hesitancy to put your hands on a female's chest,
Mm-hmm.
which gives them an even lower chance of survival than what a male is. So there's loads of different researches, but the one from, and I'm sure it's the British Heart Foundation. I'll double check that one though. But 28 up to 28% less likely to receive bystander CPR than males. And that we're saying CPR is over clothes.
Yeah.
We're then saying take a defibrillator and put a defibrillator on them. You need to remove their clothes. You then have
Yeah.
to think about the underwired bra, removing their bra. You then need to
Yeah.
have to think about where that breast is going to go, because I'll guarantee you that left breast is probably going to be exactly where you want to put the pad, and you need to
Yeah.
move the breast out the way. So
What do
it's
you
just
move
about,
with?
what was that? Sorry, Jen.
If they've got a fake bib and you can't move it.
Well, that's probably a better scenario, to be honest, if it sits right on top. If it doesn't move, that's amazing. It's when it moves, like that's when you're like, oh, I need to be there.
You just slide it out the way.
Yeah.
I mean,
But
I
you
would just
know,
for women to not wear underwire bras. Just please don't. And not just from a first aid perspective, but also from a lymphatic drainage perspective. You're
oh, I
blocking
hadn't even, yeah.
AR, please take that away.
Well, that would be my reason now, not to use one. Um, but yeah, it's all these things you're thinking about with your training. If you're going to if you're going to make sure you try to save a life, let's make sure you do it properly.
Mm-hmm.
So, but we try to make it as real as possible. Obviously, if you've been to first aid training before, if you've seen pictures, the mannequins look like male mannequins.
Yeah.
Um, and there's some brands of mannequins that are actually starting to put breasts on them. But in Mini First Aid Glasgow, with my franchise, we have breast accessories. So we put breasts on, we put bras on. We talk to you about how you would cut a bra off.
Mm-hmm.
We talked about where the breast would normally go. And when we're talking about adult first aid, I've got 50% of my mannequins in the room with breasts on them now.
Yeah.
We've also got darker skin colour and fairer skin coloured mannequins. Now, if you walked into a room in a first aid training session, you saw that's amazing. But it only works if you've got the teaching behind that to say that's why there's a female mannequin. Like,
Yeah. Yeah.
have a go, put your hand. I must admit, when I first heard the research, I was like, that's ridiculous. Just go for it. But see, when you put your hands on it and there's a breast on that mannequin, you're a bit like, ooh. Wasn't what I was expecting.
Not when you've only ever previously practiced on Annie who has no breasts.
Exactly. Exactly.
It has never crossed my mind that Annie doesn't have boobs. And it's also never even, I don't even think it's ever I'm thinking back, it's been a while since I had to need to do a first aid course. But none of the previous ones ever mentioned breasts.
Yeah, no, and it's funny when the story behind, I won't bore you too much, but the story behind the Annie mannequin, most people know about Resus Annie, but the story is that it's supposed to be quite a ginger neutral face.
Yeah.
So, but you know, it's they're flat chested, and
Whatever.
50% the population isn't.
Are not flat chested.
Yeah, it's not just females who have got breasts as well. Like gentlemen do have breasts, and we need to put our hands where we need to put our hands to keep them alive. And people keep on saying, "Oh my goodness, I'd be mortified." I would rather someone was alive to be mortified than they didn't survive to be embarrassed about what had just happened. But when you're thinking about first aid, like if we're teaching, it's not just about this is what you do. There's the roles and responsibilities as well. So you're always thinking about, I know what I need to do, but I need to protect their dignity at the same time. So Jane, can you get rid of everyone? Can you put a privacy screen up? So we need to make it real. It's not just about coming along and saying, right, do this, super well done, come back in 3 years' time. It needs to be very real. So if you walk out of that room, you would know what to do, or at least give it a really good shot.
Yeah.
But yeah, there's a campaign about breasts as well. So a lot of the big first aid providers are starting to get really good about talking about breasts on mannequins. Just I think a lot of first aid trainers have been doing it for quite a long time, and they've already got their mannequins. So it's about making sure that all that's getting up to date as well.
Yeah. And if you're saying you've got attachments that you can add on, then they're not having to replace mannequins because they can just stick a pair of boobs on.
Exactly. And apparently the mannequins that do have the breasts on them are empty breasts. So one of our trainers down south puts like little fillets inside the breast, so it actually feels like there's something there.
It feels like the tissue.
Yeah, well, I thought, well, it's a step forward, isn't it?
Yeah, it is. It is. Is there anything else that you feel like we should cover today? Like you want to share with people?
So I think it's just about everyone genuinely thinking about would they know what to do.
Mm-hmm.
And I absolutely understand it's a scary topic. I think I said it already. There's a saying in first aid, you'd rather know it and not need it than need it and not know it.
Yeah.
But if you are going to know it properly and do your research. See if you're going to like get a new kitchen put in, you do your research, don't you? And you get like 3 quotes. I would definitely be thinking, right, I need to get some first aid. What age am I? Is it a children's? Is it an adult's? What do I need? If I don't need a qualification course, I just need an awareness course. And then find out training providers that offer that. And I would always say, give them a call. You will know very quickly whether that's the kind of person you can listen to for 2 hours or have that chat with for 2 hours. And if I'm on the phone to someone very, very quickly, I'm like, oh, I can't do it to myself. So I would say have a chat with them. And most training providers as well can come to you. So if you've got family and friends and I would encourage you to all have this conversation. Like,
yeah,
I've been teaching first aid for 3.5 years and my husband still wouldn't know how to do CPR to me if I stopped breathing right now. My kids would. Yeah. My kids aren't in the home right now. So actually he's coming along to a course. I would say have that chat.
Yeah.
Literally, if you're listening to this podcast and then later on you're in front of your family, your friends, I would generally say to them, would you know what to do if I stop breathing right now? And then get a wee group of you together and learn together. Sometimes that's the best laugh.
Yeah, and you're around people that you're already comfortable with.
Yeah, as a trainer, they're the loveliest. It's generally, it sounds really corny. It's generally an honour and a privilege to go into someone's home to teach them first aid. But you guys are the most difficult to manage. Because everyone's sitting there with their cup of tea and they'll chat. And I'm like, right, guys, so.
We're actually here for a purpose, not for a chit chat.
Yeah, and it generally gets to the point now for like a 2-hour awareness class. I'm like, if it's coming to your house, I'm like, can we give it 2.5 hours? Because I know what these are like. One of you will need to go for a pee. One of you will say, well, I'll make a cup of tea then. And I'm like, this is a 2-hour class, guys. So we do make it longer. But yeah, sorry, I divert. But I would just say, everyone, just have a genuine think about whether you would know what to do.
Yeah.
And see if you are going to do it, just do it properly. It doesn't take a huge amount of time. Even in our awareness courses, we talk about all colour skins, and we talk about males and females and the differences. You don't need to do a qualification to do that. Just do something, even if it's starting with some sort of online learning, because you get loads of free resources. You don't need to come along to a class as much as it's great getting your hands on the mannequins. Start somewhere, and start now as well. Like, could you imagine something happened tomorrow and you're like, oh, I was thinking about it and I never quite get around to it?
Yes. So if somebody's listening to this and thinks, I really like the sound of Vicky and I want Vicky to come and do my training, how do they find you?
Oh, first of all, say, oh, that's nice. And you're not like me, like, nope. I would pop onto our website, so just do a Google or pop onto Facebook. We are Mini First Aid. Myself, I'm a franchise of it, so Mini First Aid Glasgow. We're on Facebook, Instagram, and actually, I think we've got TikTok. I've got someone doing my social media because it's not quite me. Pop on, have a wee look, and give us a call from the contact information in there. You can always email, call, text, whatever you want to do. And we can have a wee chat. I'll make sure I'm helping you in the right direction. There are other franchises around, so if you're not in the Glasgow, and it's quite a large area we cover. We do cover Ayrshire, over in Edinburgh, kind of Forfar, Dundee kind of area. You can go onto the Mini First Aid website and just pop your postcode in. It'll tell you where your nearest franchise is. But yeah, I'll be more than happy to have a chat with anyone, even if you're not in like the franchise area I'm in, and put you in touch with someone to get you sorted.
Yeah, I think your enthusiasm for it just shines through. And anytime you go to a course, you want the person that's delivering it to be as enthusiastic and keen as you are. So,
oh, thank you. Yeah, I've got a really small team, really small. There's 4 of us who train, and it took a while to find the right people.
Yeah.
But yeah, they don't all train the exact same as me, but they're amazing. And I don't have any concerns about anyone going to any courses because we know we're all as passionate. We've got one who's a midwife, and 1 or 2 of them actually, but one still active works in the airlines, and they have incredible training because if it happens up there, you're responsible. So everyone's just as passionate.
Yeah, that's what you want, because definitely I think the last course I went on, the guy was lovely, but he was there more for a chat than he was to teach us anything, and it was kind of it did feel like it was just I'm ticking a box for you here. And the one before that I was like, oh man, this is
Yeah. Do you know, it's funny when you were talking at the start and you said about how you had an assessment. We don't do it like that anymore. Some we work with awarding bodies and some do, but with our awarding body, it's all continuous assessment. So as long as someone's getting involved, someone's chatting with the practical elements, they're giving it a go, and I'm seeing what I need to see. So, for example, with rescue breaths, I'm seeing the chest rising and falling. With chest compressions, I'm seeing you push down and I'm hearing the click, and it's for a certain period of time. I'm just like quietly watching. And if we're not seeing that, we'll have a break and I'll have a quick chat with that person and give them another opportunity. But yeah, it's not, I remember doing mine, and if I didn't have the right type of bandage and tied it the right way, I didn't pass.
Yeah.
It's not like that anymore.
That's good, because see, as long as you're stopping that blood flow, that's all that matters.
Exactly. It doesn't matter how that bandage looks, and it could be doing if not falling off. That's always a great start.
Oh, this has been such a lovely conversation. It's gone in so fast. So thank you very much for your time. And
thank you for having me.
My pleasure. For anybody listening, please do make sure you share this conversation with everybody that you know, because everybody needs to have some sort of awareness of first aid, and check out the show notes for how to connect with Vicky. So thank you for being here. Oh, hang on, we end the recording.